We have previously learned that we can program button events to occur when a button is pushed, released, or held. And in the last tutorial, we learned how to link our buttons in the touch panel with the code that we're going to be writing. So let's get to it. In this lesson, we'll look at the channel characteristics that can be triggered by these button events. Before we get started, let's define another device. We're going to define the relays that are located on an Innova DVX presentation switcher. We'll call this device DV Relays. Now we'll assign its DPS. Based on what we learned in the DPS tutorials, we know the device number is 5001. The port number for the relays is 21, and the system number we will use is 0. So our device definition looks like this. DV Relays gets 5001:21:0. Next up, let's define some constants so this code makes a bit more sense when we're writing it. We'll define a constant for a few of the relays on our controller. In the last tutorial, you assigned channel ports and channel codes to 4 buttons. The channel codes we used were 2, 3, 4, and 6. Why did I pick those numbers? Well, it just so happens that the screen we're controlling is physically attached to relays 2, 3, 4, and 6. The second relay on our controller is for screen up, relay 3 is screen down, relay 4 will be screen stop, and we'll make relay 6 equal to screen preset. We'll now take a look at using the button events and using channel manipulation keywords within the events. There are several keywords in NetLinks programming that can be used for channel manipulation. We'll firstly take a look at the most obvious of channel states, on and off. Let's create a new button event for our screen up button on our touch panel. The button handler we're going to use is a push. When we turn a channel on or off, we refer to a device channel pair, often called a DevChan. This is the device on which we wish to change the channel, and the channel on the device we are changing. So the device we are changing is DV Relays, and the channel is relay number 2, or screen up. Using the on keyword, we'll turn on the channel. The channel state is now high. We can say it has a value of 1, is true, or is turned on. The channel will remain in this state until we turn it off. This can also be known as latching. In this example, you can see we have used the button push to turn on the channel. We will now use the release event to turn off the channel. You should also note how the code in this example has been formatted. For more information regarding the best practices for writing NetLinks programs, please refer to the NetLinks Programming Style Guide, which you should have already downloaded. Using the off keyword, we'll turn off the channel. The channel state now returns to low. We can say it has a value of 0, is false, or is turned off. So this small block of code is now complete. When the user presses the button on the touch panel, the relay comes on. The relay won't turn off until the user releases the button. Let's compile our code to make sure we don't have any errors before we move on. There are other channel-specific keywords that can be used in NetLinks programming. These are pulse. This will turn on the channel momentarily for a fixed period of time. By default, this is set to half a second, 0.5 seconds. The pulse is known as a regulated on-off. I'll build another button event for the screen down button. Except this time, I'll use the pulse keyword instead of on and off. Now, when a user presses this button, the relay will pulse on for half a second and then turn off, regardless of how long the user presses the button. Again, compile. Let's say that a half second just isn't enough time. We can change the duration of the pulse time. Let's take a look. The time can be changed in the program by using the keyword setPulseTime. In this example, we've set the pulse time to 12, which equates to 1.2 seconds. The timings are measured in a tenth of a second. Note that the time must be defined within the parentheses following the keyword. It is also important to note that when we use this keyword, it has a global effect on the program. That is to say, it will change the time of every pulse throughout the remainder of the program. If we wish to revert to the default or use this new time only for one event, then we must use setPulseTime5 to reset the value after our pulse statement. The setPulseTime5 command should be used every time the pulse time is changed. Next up, the screen stop button. Once again, I'll write another button event for the screen stop button. This time we're going to use another channel manipulation keyword called to. This will turn on an output channel when the button is pushed and keep the channel on for as long as the button is pushed. It will turn the channel off when the button is released. This is known as a variable on-off. The to keyword ties an input to an output. In this case, the button push is the input and the state of the button is the output. As always, we will compile after creating any new blocks of code. A third channel manipulation keyword is min2. This is a combination of the pulse and to keywords. I will create our final button event for the screen preset button. I will use the min2 keyword to turn on the screen preset relay. The output channel will be turned on at the push. In the case of min2, the output will be on for at least as long as the current pulse time. The output will be turned off when the pulse time has expired, or when the button is released, whichever is longer. So for example, if you just tap the button for 10 milliseconds, the button will remain lit for 500 milliseconds, if the current pulse time is set to the default time of half a second. NetLink Studio has an excellent help guide if you are ever unsure about the use of any keyword. A simple way to access the help for guidance is to highlight the keyword and then press F1 on your keyboard.